Alright, today working on some more miscellaneous welding. Starting off with brake lines. Both the driver and passenger I've already completely rebent. This is the existing fitting. Forced it down, I loop around to take out some space. Comes around, in between the new shock hoops and down. Got both sides ending in nearly the same place. I've got these brackets I cut off the old solid axle backing plate. These actually will match the my stainless steel soft line that's going to come up from the axle up to the frame. So I cut those off, bend them at nice right 90-degree angles, and so they're going to land very nicely like this. So probably going to end up putting them in a spot very close to the back side of that. I think it looks nice, kind of tidy and out of the way. I don't foresee any shock issues. The shock is running right down the center. I will kind of throw the shock body up in here and check, but I think this is going to fit fine. I'll double check it before I tack it in. Alright, I've got a shock for the sake of mock-up. Zip tied it kind of to approximate length. Like I said, the 14s are just not going to fit. I said in the previous video. I'm going to switch to a 12. I'd have basically zero up travel, and I wouldn't even be able to utilize all the down travel. Anyhow, totally ton of clearance. I mean, dang, put your fist through there. So I'll end up taking one of these brackets and mounting it kind of in this ballpark. So it'll have a ton of clearance. And this mounted up in this area means that this replacement stainless steel line, it's like 26 inches long. It'll mount in there. I got plenty of length for it to droop, and tons. So I'll just have to kind of get it close to the knuckle end up there and looped around up to there. It'll be fine. So I'm going to go ahead and get the welder fired up, kind of set one of these in place, and get it tacked in. I don't know how good this shot's going to be. I got you behind the front cross member. I'm going to attempt to weld the seam along down here between the cross member and this spring hanger. The only thing making these welds excusable is the fact that you can't see them. They're heavy, and they'll be strong. God, are they ugly. Next, I'm going to be working on the steering stabilizer. Got the axle up in the truck, steering stuff kind of all mocked up, pitman arm installed on the other side, and this is like the kit I have. It's pretty typical. U-bolts and a flat plate goes on the steering rod. This is like a 9.5 inch throw steering stabilizer. I think it comes labeled as a 9-inch. Regardless, I have it sitting at about half throw. Steering wheel setup is centered, and has this little bracket you weld on with a 1/2-inch bolt running through it. I've already got it marked. I was eyeballing kind of where I wanted it. Got some marks on the frame pretty close. So I'm thinking of putting it about right there. Seems to fit okay. It's pretty well parallel. The only gripe I have is, well, let me see if I can get you up there. Clearancing kind of here at the bottom of the air conditioner idler pulley, tensioner pulley. I mean, I probably got 1.5 inch gap right here. Of course, I've kind of rolled that forward, which helps move it down. But I don't know. I think it'll clear okay. Like I said, if I leave this end kind of alone, I can always take the other end and it gets rolled up, but that of course will put this thing a lot closer to that pulley up there. I kind of was rolling it forward just a little bit. I don't think that'll be a problem. There's enough give in the bushings to make it work. I mean, there's a little bit of concern as well towards bottoming out this little, you know, leaf spring strap on the shock, but I don't see that being a super big issue. This is one of those things that's so external on the truck that if something didn't work and you needed to cut it off and change it, it really takes next to no work. You just cut this off, grind this, you could repaint it. I don't foresee any issues on this. I mean, as it compresses, yeah, it's going to get closer, but you'd be way past flat on this leaf spring before this ever touched right there. And I don't think, because the other pivot point is so far over here, that if this side gets compressed and this bar starts coming up with compression, even if this flattened out, the rise over here is not very much, meaning it isn't going to get a whole lot closer to the bottom of this idler pulley. So I think I like where it is. Enough of me rambling. I'm going to weld that bracket on the frame right there. Alright, I finished welding up the steering stabilizer. Welds look nice. The welder's working great today. That's not going anywhere. Next thing I'm working on is getting the bumper back on. I had the trail gear bumper before. It was in the first part of my solid axle swap series. So, looks nice, except for my mounting location kind of sucks. The current plan is I've got some 1/2 inch pipe I'm going to put through here. It's actually like the iron plumbing pipe, so it measures out an internal ID of like basically 5/8 of an inch. I'm going to punch a hole through here, sleeve this, and weld it all up. And then we may use one or the other of these, and I'll be adjusting my support wing on the side of the bumper. But I will update as I keep going. First, we're fixing to pull this off, and then we're gonna drill the holes to put the sleeves in. All right, I drilled a 7/8 inch hole all the way through the front cross member of the truck on both sides. I then have these sleeves cut to 2 inches. They slip right in there, and I'm gonna set them in there flush. Weld this on both sides, front and back, and then I'll sand it smooth on the front. The back will address as I get there. Got both the sleeves welded in. It doesn't have to look pretty. It's going to get sanded down flush on this part. The ones on the inside, kind of bubbly. I will flatten them out. I'll flatten them out, but then we're going to be welding a nut onto the back side of that, so the bolt goes through, the nut's going to be retained, and you don't have to hold a wrench on the back side, because once the radiator's in here, power steering lines are running across, you're never going to be able to get in there easily. So make it retained, that way you don't have to think about it. Alright, update. We've got the tube welded in, cleaned it off, put the 5/8 bolt through it, snugged up the nut on the back, but didn't weld them in yet. While it was in position, we went ahead and drilled both this hole and that one to 1/2 inch. We'll end up, we'll see if we can fit it. We'll probably put another 1/2 inch nut behind it and weld that in. It's really nice if you don't have to hold a wrench. Especially if there's a winch on the bumper. Trying to hold it up here is already going to be a two-man job. Not having to hold a wrench and stuff is very nice. So anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and weld the nut to the back so I don't have to hold that anymore, and then I can take this whole thing back off. Welded the nuts in both sides. They work great. I'm going to go ahead and finish up some of the welding on this steering box mount. Some of the welds are ugly. I hate them. I don't know that they're worth chasing down. As I said earlier, if you chase down welds, a lot of times they can just get uglier, and the kind of only way to solve them would be grind them back down, put a nice groove in them to weld and fix them. But these are kind of hidden. They're strong, so I may just leave them. But I think I'm going to go ahead and finish welding up all the pieces there. And I still need to get up inside the bottom and do the verticals and the horizontals on the end of the cross member. And then I think that's it on the actual frame. Either way, gonna go ahead and weld that. Alright, next update. I don't know the last thing I showed you. I finished welding the steering box stuff. Those nuts are fully welded. Only thing I think I have left to do as far as actual welding on the frame is capping the ends of the tube. I'm going to take some 2-inch flat stock, lay it in here. It should give me a little valley to weld here and along the top, as well as to the back and bottom. Just do all 4. Cleaned all the shavings out of the tube, so that's good. Stabilizer's on. I still have the horizontals to weld. Still haven't done them. Keep putting them off because they're just kind of a pain to reach in and get. But I'll just go ahead and knock those out next, and I'm going to go ahead and cut some flat 2-inch stock, and I'll knock out the end caps and the flat horizontal welds at the same time. I think that's going to conclude the welding on this frame. I don't foresee any immediate need to upgrade or beef up or gusset anything on the frame. I do have some additional work to do to my bumper. You can see where I cut off the original brackets on the left and right hand side. These being those brackets. Those would have originally bolted to the side of this cab mount, but they're going to have to be modified since the placement of the bumper changed. I don't think I'm going to cover that. We'll see. If I do, it'll just be a snippet. Anyhow, that's going to conclude, I think, weld on the frame. Next thing up is going to be paint. I'm sure as hell looking forward to it. Got this whole frame to paint. Going to acetone it down, get it primered, and get it painted. I doubt I'm going to shoot any footage on that. If I do, I'll post it. But either way, this thing's getting close and the frame is done being welded on. So until next time.